You visiting somebody around here? You know, wearing that flag on that jacket, looking the way you do, you're asking for trouble around here, friend. Headed north or south?
North.
Now jump in. I'll make sure you head in the right direction, huh?
Well, it looks like we're rolling. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Clint, your Hawkeye. Okay. Before we jump right in, thank you again for being here, checking out my material. I know we jump around a lot, and videos aren't necessarily standalone. Information from one definitely bleeds into the other, just the way it is. Sometimes it can be difficult to keep all this information together, but the point is getting it out there, and you can make an informed decision on what's presented. My information, the team's information, Eric 777 Phenomenal channel, Johnny's his channel being deleted, but a lot of, or most if not all of his material is being added up to Odyssey, which I'll definitely put a link down in the description. So again, thank you for being here. Today, or this is being recorded for March 25th. Very interesting date. So March 25th, 2022. We were right now we are going to be, let's see. Remember this? Lots of yeah, definitely been through this a few times. From chapter 21, Jupiter's earthly abode. Rome's god of gods, Jupiter, was served in temples called Capitolia, from the Latin word meaning head. As we've seen, America's temple of Jupiter was erected on land that has been known as Rome for more than 100 years before it was selected by Daniel Carroll's Federal City Committee from properties owned by Carroll himself. Subdividing the Federal City, or District of Columbia, into plats was the name, or was the task of an artistic Parisian engineer named Pierre Charles L'Enfant. According to Dr. James Walsh in his book American Jesuits, L'Enfant got the job through the intercession of his priest, John Carroll. L'Enfant was a Freemason. He subdivided the city into a brilliant array of Kabbalistic symbols and numerics. Perhaps his best known device is the pattern that is discerned when a straight line is drawn from the White House along Connecticut Avenue to DuPont Circle, then along Massachusetts Avenue to Mount Vernon Square, then back across K Street to Washington Circle, then up Rhode Island Avenue to Logan Circle, then along Vermont Avenue back to the White House. What results is a perfect pentagram. What results is a perfect pentagram. The Queen of Heaven's 8-year journey, 8 year and 1 day celestial journey. But L'Enfant, and that's addressed earlier in the book, but L'Enfant's pentagram points downward, forming the shape of Baphomet, the Gnostic absorption into wisdom, goat's head icon of the Knights Templar. Gnostic historian Manly Palmer Hall says the upside-down pentagram is used extensively in black magic and always signifies a perverted power. The Baphomet imposed upon the Federal City by Pierre Charles L'Enfant puts the mouth of this perverted power exactly at the White House. The White House named after Jesuit Father Andrew White, not because it's a white house. The presence of perverted power is underscored in L'Enfant's numbering of Washington's city blocks. The 600 series of blocks runs in a swath from Q Street north through the Capitol grounds down to the mouth of James Creek below V or 5th Street south. All the numbers between 600 and 699 are assigned to blocks within this swath, except for the number 666 or 666. That number is missing from the map. It must have been secretly affixed to the only unnumbered section of blocks in the 600 series. That section, we find, includes the capital grounds that were once called Rome. Of course, 666 is the number of the name of the beast mentioned in the oh boy, mentioned in the 13th chapter of Revelation. If America's temple of Jupiter sits upon the beast named 666, could it be that the true founding fathers soberly recognized Congress as the great whore of Revelation 17:1? The Latin historians Ovid, Pliny, and Aurelius Victor all tell us that the prehistoric name for Rome was Saturnia, city of Saturn. Saturnia's original settlers came from the east, from Babylon. In the Babylonian or Chaldean language, according to Alexander Hislop, Saturnia was pronounced Satyr, but spelled with only 4 characters, so S-A-T-R, but spelled with only 4 characters, stir, spelling S-T-U-R. Now, Chaldean, like Hebrew, Greek, and to a limited extent Latin, had no separate numbering system. Their numbers were represented by certain characters of their alphabet. The Kabbalah derives its power from mathematical energies conveyed from these languages. Hislop reported a phenomenon that he said every Chaldean scholar knows, which is that the letters of Stir, Rome's earliest name, total 666 or 666. We can... Okay, we'll leave that for the moment. Jumping to the Vatipedia or Wikipedia, user-edited Wikipedia page of Capitoline Hill. The Capitolium or Capitoline Hill is one of the 7 hills of Rome. Let's see, the hill was so. Okay, let's see, the capital of the United States. Oh boy. Rome's god of gods. Okay, so served in temples called Capitolia. We've got every capital or capitol named after Capitoline Hill, one of the 7 hills of Rome. And back to the page. The hill was earlier known as Mons Saturnius, dedicated to the god Saturn. The word Capitolium first meant the temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus, later built there, and afterward it was used for the whole hill, and even other temples of Jupiter on the other hills. In an etymological myth, ancient sources connect the name to caput, head or summit, and the tale was that when laying the foundations for the temple, the head of a man was found. Some sources even saying that it was the head of some Tullus or Olus. Capitolium was regarded by the Romans as indestructible and was adopted as a symbol of eternity. Okay, let's say check out Pierre Charles L'Enfant, his page. Sip of water. Peter Charles L'Enfant, August 2nd, 1754 to June 14th, 1825. Also notice, L'Enfant shares a birthday with 18th Jesuit Superior General Lorenzo Ricci. Well, about 50 years apart. Ricci born in about August 2nd, 1705. Okay, so L'Enfant was a French-American military engineer who designed the basic plan for Washington D.C., capital city known today as the L'Enfant Plan. L'Enfant was born in Paris, France on August 2nd, 1754 as the 3rd child and 2nd son of Pierre L'Enfant, a painter and professor at Royal Academy of Painting and Sculpture, known for his panoramas of battles. Jumping down, he studied art at the Royal Academy from 1771 until 1776, where he left school in France and to enlist in the American Revolutionary War on the side of the rebellion colonials. Okay, let's remember, just looking briefly at the Lorenzo Ricci page. We have Lorenzo Ricci from August 2nd, 1703 to November 24th, 1775. His death date is questionable, of course, as suggested by Tupper Saussy, and in part I agree, and we'll jump to that later. Ricci was an Italian Jesuit, elected the 18th Superior General of the Society of Jesus. He was also the last before the suppression of the Jesuits in 1773. John Carroll, S.J., or so, was briefly mentioned, so let's quickly look at him, his page. Carroll, so John, remember, not Daniel, John Carroll, S.J., was an American prelate of the Roman Catholic Church who served as the first bishop and archbishop in the United States. He served as the ordinary of the first diocese and later archdiocese of Baltimore in Maryland, which at first encompassed all of the United States and later after division of the eastern half of the nation. Carroll is also known as the founder of Georgetown University, the oldest Catholic college and university in the United States. The oldest what? Catholic? No. Well, yes, but also Jesuit college, university in the United States, and of St. John the Evangelist Parish of Rock Creek. Carroll was born, so January 8th, 1735. He was of Irish ancestry. Okay. Let's just exit some of these tabs. John Carroll, who got L'Enfant the job. Okay. So today, March 25th. Pardon. We also know that today is also recognized as Jean de Brébeuf's birthday. In my previous videos, I've covered some of his goings and how his life ended. His brutal death. Was it deserved? If you've seen and read and understand the Jesuit fourth vow, or the extreme oath of obedience, also known as the fourth vow, yeah, it was more than deserved. So Jean Brébeuf, born on March 25th, 1593. Okay, we can get to that. Okay, so today, March 25th, is the National Medal of Honor Day. Okay, the United States of America. National Medal of Honor Day is observed every year on March 25th and is dedicated to Medal of Honor recipients. Each branch of the U.S. military awards the Medal of Honor to those who have distinguished themselves conspicuously by gallantry and intrepidity above and beyond the call of duty, according to the Department of Veterans Affairs official site. National Medal of Honor Day will be observed Friday, March 25th, 2022. The Medal of Honor is awarded only to military members. It is awarded by Congress, and it is also known as the Congressional Medal of Honor. National Medal of Honor Day is a time to remember the sacrifices of men and women in uniform who have earned the highest of military honors. Let's see. Okay. What's also interesting, we have a significant, I think, not just in fiction, but in cinema. Where is it? First Blood. It's in both the film, the 82 film, and in the 1972 novel, authored by David Morrell, Canadian actually. Let's see that we find out after, as the plot is unrolling, that Rambo is a Congressional Medal of Honor winner.
I could have killed them all. I could have killed you. In town, you're the law. Out here, it's me. Don't push it. Don't push it, I'll give you a war you won't believe. Let it go. Let it go.
We're back here right now. I don't want Galt's body out here all night.
I'll do what I can. Listen, Will, you sure picked one hell of a guy to mess around with. Just came over the teletype a few minutes ago. John Rambo is a Vietnam vet. He's a Green Beret, Congressional Medal of Honor. Guy's a war hero.
Jesus, that freak! I knew there was something about that guy.
Rambo also, from the novel, has an interesting background. So in the novel, in this, page 168. Okay, there's similarities between the film and the book. The film does break away from the plot in the book, but there's also similarities. And of course, most of us, if you've seen the film, you'll remember the cave, the classic cave portion of the film. It's also in the book, in the novel. In the first side of the mine walls, so the mine's been discovered. It's his place of refuge after being badly injured and nursing his wounds. On the first sight of these mine walls, he had almost expected to see drawings, paintings, animals with horns, men clutching spears, stalking them. He had seen photographs of something like that, but he could not remember when. In high school, maybe. Pictures of hunting had always fascinated him. When he was a young boy at home in Colorado, he had often gone hiking by himself into the mountains, and once, when he had stepped cautiously into a cave, rounding a corner, flashing his light, there had been a drawing of a buffalo. Just one, in yellow, perfectly centered on the wall. It had looked so real, as if it would bolt out at the sight of him and run. And he had watched it all afternoon until his flashlight dimmed. He had gone back to that cave at least once a week after that, to sit there and watch. His secret. His father had one night beaten him repeatedly in the face for not saying where he had been. Remembering, Rambo nodded his head at not having told. It was a long time now since he had been in that cave, and this place made him feel secret and this place made him feel secret like in the other. One buffalo, high-humped, squat-horned, staring at him, so high up in the mountains, away from its native plains. And how long it had been there and who had drawn it, and one who had worked this mine, and how long ago was that? The cave had always reminded him of a church, and this place did too, and this place did too, but now the association embarrassed him. Well, he had not been embarrassed when he was a child. First communion, confession, he remembered what it had been like to push away the heavy black cloth and slip into the dark confessional. His knees on the padded board, the voice of the priest muffled, giving absolution to the penitent in the other side of the box. Then the wood slide snicking back, and him confessing. Confessing what? The men he had just killed? It was self-defense. Father. But did you enjoy it, my son? Was it an occasion of sin? That embarrassed him more. He did not believe in sin. He did not like to entertain ideas about it, but the question repeated itself. Was it an occasion of sin? And his mind drowsing with the comfort from the fire, he wondered what he would have said as a child. Probably yes. The sequence of killings was very complicated. He could justify to the priest that it was self-defense to kill the dogs and the old man in green. But after that, when he had his opportunity to escape, anyway, we can leave it at that. David Morrell, Canadian-American novelist, best known for his debut 1972 novel First Blood, later adapted to the 1982 film of the same name, which went on to spawn the successful Rambo franchise, starring Sylvester Stallone. Morrell has written 28 novels, and his work has been translated into 30 languages. He also wrote the 2007-2008 Captain America comic books miniseries, The Chosen. So born in Kitchener, Ontario, April 24th, 1943. His alma mater, St. Jerome's University, commonly shortened to St. Jerome's or SJU, is a public Roman Catholic university in Waterloo, Ontario, affiliated with the University of Waterloo. He moved to the United States to study with Hemingway scholar Philip Young at Pennsylvania State University, where he would eventually receive his master's and PhD in American literature. Okay. What's interesting about, where is it? I want to make sure I find this. Okay. David Morrell. In an interview, writerswrite.com, he responds to a inspiration for a particular novel titled Long Lost. And then his response, I have a theory that compulsive fiction writers are subconsciously working out traumas that happened to them when they were young. I call this process self-psychoanalysis. In my own case, I had a troubled childhood. My father died in World War II. I was put in an orphanage. And to date, I've not been able to find the name of this particular orphanage that his mother left him at. In other citations, it's as if his mother abandoned him there, literally pushed him. I don't want to put words into this story, but it's the image that I'm remembering. Literally, mother pushed him out the car door, drove away. My mother remarried. My stepfather disliked children. There were never never-ending family fights. I slept under the bed, fearing for my safety. These events left me anxious about the stability of everyday life. The death of my son Matthew in 1987 only reinforced my conviction that we can't take anything for granted, that life can suddenly turn against us. Okay. Now, there's one particular title out of the many that Morrell has authored, Brotherhood of the Rose. There are other suggestible titles, but the synopsis caught my attention. I've not read this. I don't have a year off the top of my head for this book. Anyway, synopsis. They were orphans, Chris and Saul, raised in a Philadelphia orphanage, bonded by friendship and devoted to a mysterious man called Elliot. He visited them and brought them candy. He treated them like sons. He trained them to be assassins. Now he is trying desperately to have them killed. Spanning the globe and full of heart-stopping action, The Brotherhood of the Rose is an astonishing novel of fierce loyalty and violent betrayal, of murders planned and coolly executed, of revenge bitterly, utterly, urgently desired. It's jumping down. This is from davidmorrell.net. Backstory. This was my first big international thriller. Two boys in an orphanage. Saul, a Jew. Chris, an Irish Catholic, are befriended by an elderly man who is unknown to them, works for the CIA. He makes the boys love him as a substitute father, then trains them to be his personal intelligence operatives when they are adults. Eventually, to protect himself, he turns against them. The emotions in the Brotherhood of the Rose, it's funny, Rosicrucianism or Freemasonry, come out of my experiences in an orphanage when I was 3 after my father died. When my mother remarried, it was to a man who didn't like children. The arguments between him and my mother were so fierce that I slept in fear under my bed. In a way, this is a novel about an evil stepfather. It's filled with all kinds of authentic CIA history and tradecraft. Elliot is based on a real CIA counter-espionage master, James Jesus Angleton. Okay, let's look him up. James Jesus Angleton. So born December 9th, interesting date, 1917. His death is May 11th, 1987. May 11th, shares a birthday with Jesuit. Shares a birthday. Shares a you know what? I'm going to look that up. It's either Matteo. Yeah, shares a death day with Matteo Ricci. Matteo Ricci, Jesuit missionary to China, gave the Chinese their calendar, who died in 1610. So May 11, 1610. James Jesus Angleton died May 11, 1987. 1987. He was chief of counterintelligence for the Central Intelligence Agency from 1954 to 1974. His official position within the organization was Associate Deputy Director of Operations for Counterintelligence. It's a long acronym. Angleton was significantly involved in the U.S. response to the purported KGB defectors. A couple names are given. Angleton later became convinced that the CIA harbored a high-ranking mole and engaged in intensive research. Jumping down, James Jesus Angleton was born December 9th. Angleton's boyhood was spent in Milan, Italy, where his family moved after his father brought NCR's Italian subsidiary, NCR being the National Cash Register. He then studied as a boarder at Malvern College, interesting heraldry, is in England before attending Yale University. The young Angleton was a poet and Dead Poet Society, as a Yale graduate. Okay, interesting. Okay, let's continue that. As a Yale undergraduate editor with Reed Whitmore of the Yale literary magazine Furioso, which published many of the best-known poets of the interwar period, including William Carlos Williams, E. Cummings, and Ezra Pound. He carried on an extensive correspondence with Pound, naming others, and okay, we can leave. Okay, so during World War II, Angleton served in the Office of Strategic Services, the OSS. The father, also known as Wild Bill, I want to get this right, Bill Donovan, OSS. William Joseph Wild Bill Donovan. The precursor to the CIA. So Alphabet Agency. Who do these agencies serve? The American people or a foreign entity? Rome. Okay, we can leave James Jesus Angleton alone. Jumping to. Okay, we'll leave Morrell for now. I'll address some details in probably my next video. Let's go back today. So today we have the birthday of Jean de Brébeuf. We have the national. Let's get this National Medal of Honor Day in the United States. We also have the Feast of the Annunciation. The Feast of the Annunciation commemorates the visit of the Archangel Gabriel to the Virgin Mary, during which he informed her that she would be the mother of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. It is celebrated on March 25th each year. In the Roman Catholic Church, when March 25th falls during Pascal Triduum, it is transferred forward to the first suitable day during Eastertide. Okay. It's interesting that the Feast of Annunciation is observed almost universally throughout Christianity, especially within Orthodoxy, Anglicanism, Catholicism, and Lutheranism. It is a major Marian feast, classified as a solemnity in the Catholic Church, a festival in the Lutheran churches, and a principal feast in the Anglican Communion. Jumping down, 2 examples in liturgical Christianity of the importance attached to the Annunciation are the Angelus prayer, and especially in Roman Catholicism, the event's position as the first joyful mystery of the Dominican Rosary. From memory, October 7th, being the anniversary date of the Battle of Lepanto, the battle and victory, that's something to adjust. I did before. We have it popularized the Rosary. It's also the birthday, the shared, obviously not the same year, but the shared birthday, so October 7th, the shared birthday of Vladimir Ladachowski and Vladimir Putin. Earlier in the brief, I'd mentioned Manly Palmer Hall from reading Tupper Saussy's Rulers of Evil from Jupiter's Earthly Abode, chapter 21. Manly Palmer Hall is a birth date of March 18th, 1901, March 18th. I posted a video for that date and other information too, and he died August 29th, 1990. Another Canadian author, lecturer, astrologer, and mystic. Over a 7-year career, he gave thousands of lectures, including 2 at Carnegie Hall, and published over 150 volumes, of which the best is known as the Secret Teachings of All Ages. In 1934, he founded the Philosophical Research Society in Los Angeles. It includes a research library, lecture hall, and publishing house. Okay, yeah, Hall was born in 1901 in Peterborough, Ontario, so another Ontario boy, like Morrell, Canada, to Louise Palmer Hall, a chiropractor and member of the Rosicrucian Fellowship, and William S. Hall, a dentist. Rosicrucian, interesting. The Rose Cross. Dentist. The younger Hall is said to have never known his father. Okay, we can... Okay, his death date, August 29th. Reminded... my own issue with language. Language. Okay, August 29th. Pause this. Doing this and trying this, I have a profound respect, and always have, for those that do this. Speech is not something. It's not a strength of mine. And those that produce often and good content. Again, I respect, and even those that are like me, trying and are experienced. It's just wow. This has been definitely an experience of just wow. The profound respect to those that are creating content and getting truth out there, names, places, and dates. So you know who you are. Back to Manly Palmer Hall's death date, August 29th. Pope Pius VI. So born December 25th. December 25th being the death date of Samuel de Champlain, also the birth date of current Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, 1717, and his death date is August 29th, 1799.
It's not a dream anymore, it's real. I know the date it happens.
I'm sure it feels very real to you.
On August 29th, 1997, it's gonna feel pretty fucking real to you, too. Anybody not wearing 2 million sunblock is gonna have a real bad day. Get it?
If you're familiar, or this might be new to you, about the papal head wound being delivered when Pius VI was arrested in 1798 by General Alexander Berthier under Napoleon in February. 1798. Okay. So Pius VI, head of the Catholic Church and ruler of the Papal States from February 15th. That's an interesting date. I will deal with that at some point as well. Dealing with Canada, that's my own prompt. To his death in 1799. Pius VI condemned, I bet he did, the French Revolution and the suppression of the Gallican Church that resulted from it. French troops commanded by Napoleon Bonaparte defeated the Papal Army and occupied the Papal States in 1796. In 1798, upon his refusal to renounce his temporal power, Pius was taken prisoner and transported to France. He died 18 months later in Valence. His reign of over 2 decades is the fifth longest in papal history. So his given name is Giovanni Angelo Braschi. And I think this is also another interesting note. I believe this is the first white pope that was Jesuit educated. He completed his studies at the Jesuit College of Cesena and received his doctorate of both canon and civil law in 1734. Okay, why am I bringing up? So 1799, sharing the death date, August 29th with Manny Palmer Hall. I came across this book some time ago, Absolute Power, How the Pope Became the Most Influential Man in the World, written by Paul Collins. Collins states in his introduction, I believe, that he's a retired priest. Pardon me. I want to read, there's the cover leaf. Okay, we have, just deciding what I want to read. Okay, so this is from Absolute Power, How the Pope Became the Most Influential Man in the World. It's published in 2018 by Paul Collins. Paul Collins, once active in priestly ministry, writes in his personal introduction of Absolute Power, it is, one moment. My goodness. It is 20 years now since the publication of Papal Power, another book he wrote in 1997. And except for the election of Pope Francis, little has changed in Catholicism. For instance, the Pew Research Center found that the Catholic population of the United States dropped by 3.1 million between 2007 and 2015, with 13% of all Americans calling themselves former Catholics. It is Latino immigration that helps keep Catholic numbers stable, thus the open borders. There are many reasons people abandon Catholicism, but they are often scandalized by the imagined wealth of the papacy and the way in which power is used in the church. So I decided it was time to take a look again at the question of authority in Catholicism, specifically papal power and how it distorts the message of the gospel. Christ is the litmus test for any institution that claims to be Christian because, as the letter to the Philippians says, Christ emptied himself, taking the form of a slave, and became obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. Interesting reference, because we also have from the fourth vow of obedience. Now this man, nowhere that I know it is Jesuit trained or Jesuit ordained, but this sounds very close to admitting the perinde ac cadaver in the manner of a corpse from the extreme oath or fourth vow. So the book, Absolute Power's cover leaf, states in 1799 the papacy was at rock bottom, the Papal States had been swept away, Rome had been seized by revolutionary French armies, and cardinals were scattered across Europe. With the next papal election uncertain, it seemed that even if Catholicism survived, the papacy was finished. And yet, just over 200 years later, the Pope's influence reaches across the world, from Cuban politics to gender equalities to the refugee crisis. In this gripping narrative of religious and political history, Paul Collins tells the improbable success story of the last 220 years of the papacy, from the ignominious death of Pope Pius VI in 1799 to the exalted reception of Pope Francis today. As the papacy lost its physical power, its armies and states, and remained stubbornly opposed to the modern social and economic consensus, it has only increased its stature and political authority in the world. Having achieved this paradoxical rise, the challenge remains of how to ensure a credible and Christ-like path forward, even as the powers of office rise to unparalleled heights. Let's see. Paul Collins, a Roman Catholic historian and broadcaster with degrees from Harvard and the Australian National University, has worked as a religious commentator for Australian Broadcasting Corporation, BBC and PBS. Okay. So we have his noting of absolute power, and then of course 1799. Now 1799, with the death of Pius VI, and I believe in part in this event in history is you have parentheses put around this event with the suppression of the Society of Jesus from July 21st, 1773 to August 7th, 1814. I believe, in fact, this does represent, or this time in history is when the papacy, the little horn power of Daniel, received its head wound. Of course, this is controversial to some. Is it? Especially if you understand that the Jesuit suppression being manufactured, as Tupper Saussy's book states. And I agree with, I've said before, I'll say it again, that the Saussy's book, Frederick Tupper Saussy's book, Rulers of Evil. Well, first The Art of War was being the military treaties, or well, in the day 1772, translated by Jesuit Jean Joseph Marriott. Jean Joseph Marie Amiot. Okay. Treaties from the Chinese under the generalate of Lorenzo Ricci. And of course, I would agree with Saussy that this is actually the general's voice. Remember that the drum beat takes the place of the general's voice. Just to share something from Art of War. Attack by stratagem. Sun Tzu said, in the practical art of war, the best thing of all is to take the enemy's country whole and intact. To shatter and destroy it is not so good. So too it is better to recapture an army entire than to destroy it. To capture a regiment, a detachment, or a company entire than to destroy them. Hence, to fight and conquer in all your battles is not supreme excellence. Supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting. Thus, the highest form of generalship is to balk the enemy's plans. The next best is to prevent the junction of the enemy's forces. The next in order is to attack the enemy's army in the field. And the worst policy of all is to besiege walled cities. And if you're familiar now with the fourth vow,
for the propagating of the Mother Church's interest, I do further promise and declare that I will have no opinion or will of my own, or any mental reservation whatsoever, even as a corpse, but will unhesitatingly obey each and every command that I may receive from my superiors in the militia of the Pope and of Jesus Christ. I furthermore promise and declare that I will wage relentless war, secretly or openly, against all heretics, Protestants, and liberals, to extirpate and exterminate them from the face of the whole earth, and that I will hang, burn, waste, boil, and flay, and strangle and bury alive these infamous heretics, rip up the stomachs of the wombs of their women, and crush their infant heads against the walls, in order to annihilate forever their execrable race.
And one significant Jesuit maxim, the ends justify the means, and also dividing and conquering. Okay. Division and conquering. Okay, while I'm here, let's visit. Okay, the real life soldier and actor who inspired Stallone's Rambo. This is from ScreenRant.com, and actually was published March 5th, 2022. Audie Murphy. I know George has spoken often of this gentleman, is the soldier and actor who inspired the creation of First Blood's Rambo. Sylvester Stallone was far from the first choice to play Rambo in 1982's First Blood, an adaptation of author David Morrell's novel. The book saw a Vietnam vet with severe PTSD launch a bloody war in a small town where he's harassed and bullied by a local sheriff. The Rambo featured in Morrell's First Blood had no issue killing those he saw as enemies, but when Stallone signed on, he felt audiences would have more sympathy for the character if these elements were removed. Okay, so, and then jumping down, Audie Murphy's war record has since become legendary, with his service covering 9 campaigns. 2 famous events from his service include an ambush during the Operation Dragoon in southern France in 1944, and he was later awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions. He was 20 at the time. Okay. James. Okay, I've covered. Okay, let's wrap this up. Okay. So today we have Medal of Honor Day. The Medal of Honor, of course, I wanted to also mention, if you I will splice into this, it is the inverted pentagram, and just as I've mentioned in Tupper Saussy's, the Congressional Medal of Honor depicting NES within a Baphomet rewards Americans who have sacrificed most for the Roman ideal. In Pierre Charles L'Enfant's layout of Washington D.C., District of Columbia, where is it? L'Enfant's pentagram points downward, forming the shape of Baphomet, the Gnostic goat's head icon of the Knights Templar. Gnostic historian Manny Palmer Hall says the upside-down pentagram always signifies perverted power. The Baphomet imposed upon the federal city by Pierre Charles L'Enfant puts the mouth of this power, perverted power, exactly at the White House. Okay, National Medal of Honor Day. March 25th, we have the birthday of Jean de Brébeuf, who is now, you know what, he's not just a Canadian, why am I forgetting this? Patron saint of Canada, or one of them, Jean de Brébeuf. He is also a, let's find it. I want to say a martyr for, pardon me, Saint, North America. Yeah, Brébeuf was canonized in 1930 with 7 other missionaries who are collectively called the North American Martyrs. He is the patron saint of Canada. I believe he's one of, I'll have to confirm that. I think there's more than one, but what I also wanted to mention about Jean de Brébeuf, so he has a feast day, so March 16th, which I covered in previous videos. March 18th, okay, so his feast, because his death day is March 16th, so it's September 26th in Canada. And also it's acknowledged, so his feast, I don't know if there's a general feast on March 16th, but it's listed also as the 26th in September for Canada, also in the United States, and the 19th of October in the United States and elsewhere. And we also remember the day before, in 2019, you had event 201 hosted in New York City at the Pierre Hotel, where Johns Hopkins University hosted a tabletop event for a quote-unquote pandemic scenario just prior to the outbreak of the Corona Triumphalis, the Crown Victoria. And remember, in 2017 at Georgetown University, you have Jesuit-trained Anthony Fauci, the sickle Fauci, announcing on January 10th, so in 2017, that the Trump administration would indeed deal with a pandemic scenario. Must have had that crystal ball warmed up. Okay, so we have the Brébeuf connection, we have the National Medal of Honor Day, and we also have the Feast of the Annunciation. The visit of the Archangel Gabriel to the Virgin Mary. And of course, who's the Virgin Mary? In Roman Catholicism, she is the Queen of Heaven, also known as Libertas, also known as Freedom. Who have Canadians been calling out to? Freedom, the Freedom Convoy. Do we judge the natural by the spiritual by the natural, or vice versa? It's very interesting. As we are in Lent, the 40 days of weeping for Tammuz, baking cakes to the Queen of Heaven. Okay, I think that's good for now. So, thank you very much for checking out this video, checking out my channel. Please leave a comment if you are inspired to. I'll respond. And let's see, anything else I can share at this time? No, I think that's it for now. Okay. Again, thank you. It's your Hawkeye. Bye for now.
It's over, Johnny. It's over! Nothing is over! Nothing! You just don't turn it off!